Hey everybody, Dr. Phil here. This is going to be a video on marketing foundations in the context of global, ethical, and sustainability, of course. All right, let's jump right into it. So, marketing is not limited by borders. Worldwide distribution networks, sophisticated communication tools, and greater product standardization, and of course the internet, have opened world markets. Large and small companies, as we know, do business globally. Opportunities are greater than ever, but of course, so are risks. And global customers' needs may need to product adaptation. So as companies get more international business, they begin to understand how to market beyond their home markets. And that's as it says, there's a learning curve. We call that the global experience learning curve. And there's four distinct stages. The first is no direct foreign marketing. Two is foreign marketing. Three is international marketing. And four is global marketing. So companies with no direct foreign marketing may still do business with international customers through intermediaries or limited direct contact. They may fulfill unsolicited orders, but these are incidental, usually small with a limited range of products. Small companies now move into international markets faster due to better domestic distributor relationships, customers with global operations, and of course, effective websites. The company follows existing customers into foreign markets. This involves developing local distribution and service representation. Now, to do this, they'll typically use local intermediaries, or they may establish their own direct sales force in that country. Key activities are done in the home country, products are modified for international markets. And then international marketing stage three. When a firm begins to manufacture products outside the home market, it's now engaged in international marketing. Global markets become an essential component of the company's growth strategy. Resources are allocated to expand into foreign markets. And this establishes an international business division or unit. And management may still have even though they have the international operations, they may still have a domestic first mindset, which can be good or bad. And then finally, stage four, global marketing. A global marketing company views the world as a single market with many different segments. More than half of its revenue comes from international markets. Global marketers see market segments that may or may not align with country boundaries. International marketers define markets along traditional political boundaries, typically, and moving to global marketing really depends on research critical for decision makers. So, for most of the 20th century, the world economic growth was fueled by the developed economies of Western Europe, the United States, and Japan. However, over the past decade, growth has been in emerging markets. So, for example, China, India, and Brazil, among others, have accounted for 66% of global GDP, gross domestic product growth. Now, regional market zones consist of a group of countries that create formal relationships for mutual economic benefit through lower tariffs and reduced trade barriers. They usually form as a result of four separate forces. One is economic factors, the second is geographic proximity, the third is political factors, and then finally, in some cases, cultural similarities. Now, the most common method for entering foreign markets, at least in the beginning, is exporting. This requires, of course, minimal investment and risk. This accounts for about 10% of all global economic activity. It's usually, and as I said, an initial strategy, not a long-term approach. And some companies use exporting even though they have a global market presence. So internet apps and credit cards have certainly simplified financial transactions, right? They've certainly made the world a smaller place in that sense. Exporters provide expertise in global shipping. Distributors know local market conditions best, so they can help with the supply chain and what's needed. And the direct sales force is expensive, but needed with technology or high-end industrial products. Contractual agreements are non-equity relationships with another company, often in the target country. So licensing, for example, may be required by law. Direct importing may be restricted, or the company has limited financial resources. So a good example of licensing is Hershey's chocolate bar in the US and of course Cadbury's in the UK. And they both sell in each other's territories, but they do so under a licensing agreement. And then finally, franchising. So franchising agreements allow the firm to retain control of quality, which of course certainly is important if you differentiate based on quality. It's got a low capital investment, rapid expansion, and local market knowledge. Strategic alliances spread risk of foreign investment among partners. A great example, of course, is the airline industry. We think about One World Alliance, SkyTeam, and Star Alliance. International joint ventures allow companies to enter markets that would be closed because of legal restrictions or cultural barriers. They're formed by two or more companies that share management duties in a defined structure, but also hold equity positions. Now, direct foreign investment, sometimes we abbreviate that DFI. Direct foreign investment is the riskiest strategy, but it offers potential for long-term growth. Now, the factors to consider here are, of course, timing, legal issues, transaction costs, technology transfer, product differentiation, and of course, marketing communication barriers. Now, once a market entry strategy is chosen, an efficient and effective global market organization structure must be created. Organizations must decide on decision-making authority, the degree of centralization, whether they'll be centralized, whether all the controls in the home country, decentralized, where controls spread out, or possibly regionalized. The control is sort of broken down into certain regions. So choosing a structure. Global product lines work well for firms with a broad, diverse range of products. This allows companies to target similar products to customers around the world. Geographic regions divides markets by geography, building autonomous regional organizations that work well when local government relationships are critical for success. You often see that in developing countries. The matrix structure is a hybrid of the first two and is used by most global firms. This encourages regional autonomy as it builds product competence. And then we could also introduce a direct product extension. This is where we introduce the product produced in the company's home market to an international market with no product changes. We can also maybe do a product adaptation where we alter an existing product to fit local needs and legal requirements. Or possibly a product invention. This is where we create a new product specifically for an international market. Now, backward product invention takes a discontinued product from one market and introduces it into another. That's a cheaper way of selling. Or we can forward product invention, which creates new products to meet demand in a specific country or region. Now, there's three principal approaches to global pricing. There's one is just having one global price all over the world. Second is the local market conditions price, more common. And then finally, the cost-based price. And it's worth noting that no single pricing strategy accommodates every foreign market. What most companies do is they'll sort of follow a combination of cost-based and market conditions-based pricing in setting a final price to the market. Because if you set the wrong price, then obviously no one's going to buy it, and ultimately the market determines the price. The four primary forces drive higher costs and create price escalation. Product export costs and transfer pricing, that's a big one. Tariffs, import fees, and taxes, of course, is another. Exchange rate fluctuations, that certainly introduces a whole new level of risk. And then, of course, middlemen, think about like intermediaries, wholesalers, and of course, the transportation costs. All of these, of course, affect pricing, usually in an upward direction. Now, some other global pricing issues. One, of course, germane to this conversation is dumping, which refers to the practice of charging less than actual cost or less than the product price in the company's home markets. A gray market involves the unauthorized diversion of branded products into global markets. Gray market distributors, who are often authorized distributors, divert products from low price to high price markets. And then finally, I'll talk about the triple bottom line, the TBL. This is a metric for evaluating not only the financial results of the company, but the broader social, equity, economic, and environmental considerations as well. So the triple bottom line, we think of the three Ps: people, planet, and profit. So whereas before it was really just profit, now we're also introducing planet and people. So evidence shows that companies' corporate social responsibility, CSR, can improve a company's profits, and more research is being done on that, ongoing as we speak. All right, thanks for watching this quick video, and I'll see you all in a future video.